Okay, good morning everyone. Thanks for joining this morning and taking the time out to join the session. So today we're going to be talking about a new offering from Ultima around managed detection and response. It's a bit of a hot topic these days. Lots of customers are talking about it. So we'll introduce what the service is, why we've done it, and then introduce our partner we're working with around this service and why we selected them. So firstly, a couple of bits of housekeeping around the webinar itself. Everyone's on mute for the session. So, but we do encourage questions. So if you've got any questions you'd like to ask, the chat facility on the right-hand side of your screen will give you the ability to ask any questions. So please do, and we'll jump in at an appropriate time and answer those for you. So that's just covering that bit. The webinar will be recorded, so we will be able to send you out a link afterwards to rewatch it, and we'll also send out a PDF version of the slides to everyone after the session. So that's just the small housekeeping bits. So in terms of this new offering from Ultima, in terms of where this sits in our portfolio, so we've got a number of new sort of offerings and solutions for 2020. Autonomous is the key to all of these, so we're big into, most of the people who know us well we're into automation where possible. It's something a lot of people are asking for. It helps efficiencies and make things work better. So we've got our sort of key solutions around the outside of an inner circle there. Autonomous processes with IA Connect, autonomous cloud for looking at sort of managing and migrating to Azure, autonomous edge for laptops, desktops, mobiles, that kind of thing. Managing it and sort of monitoring it in a single, easy-to-use manner, and autonomous network from a sort of a data center and Wi-Fi sort of set in your offices. But what brings all that together in the middle is security. So one of the things that most people say is it's great, you know, all different solutions we've got, we need to somehow sort of glue them together and make sure we're monitoring them effectively and ensure they're secure. So that's where solutions such as the MDR offering we're going to go through today assist. So we're going to go into it in a bit more detail, include sort of, you know, what the benefits are, why do you need it, what sort of systems and products in the background power it to make it happen, and just explain generally how it works. So for this purpose, we've kind of selected a key partner in this process to help us sort of deliver these technologies and solutions. So that's a company called RedScan. So we're delighted to be able to have them on this session with us today. And I'm going to hand over to Konstantin, who's the sales director at RedScan. He's going to run through their offering and solution. And one of the key things that we sort of introduce as part of the session as we go through is how that's integrated with our managed services and sort of why we've selected RedScan and how their solutions sort of complement what we're doing and how we work very well as an integrated solution. So I'll hand over to Konstantin to go through.
Thank you very much, Chris. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your time today. And thank you to Ultima, of course, and Chris for arranging this webinar. My name is Konstantin Cortes. I am the sales director of RedScan, and I will spend the next 15, 20 minutes, maybe a bit longer, depending on the flow, to take you through RedScan's capability and proposition. In terms of an agenda for today, we're going to focus a bit about our background and where we've come from, the ethos of the firm, and then talk a bit about our clients, the type of expertise we have and our understanding of the marketplace, and then focus as much as possible on the managed detection and response side. So what is our capability around managed detection and response? How can we help that major challenge that organizations are faced with? And certainly linking up with Ultima, how does the partnership between RedScan and Ultima benefit organizations like yourselves? Obviously, we will take questions at the end, as Chris mentioned earlier. So, RedScan started out about 15 to 16 years ago, and we built a reputation in the market as one of the leading offensive cybersecurity organizations. So we have a very good understanding of the way the bad guys think, whether that's because of our experience in penetration testing, vulnerability scanning, all the way through to some major red teaming, CBEST type engagements with tier one banks. We have a very solid understanding of how the bad guys think and what are the types of activities they go through when they're trying to target an organization. And the challenge that our clients were always asking us 6 or 7 years ago was, guys, every time you try and break into our network, you succeed. So typically those organizations will have, you know, all the latest and greatest security protective tools, firewalls, AVs, whatever you name it, they've got it. And obviously people still break in. So we took a view of building out a managed detection and response service about 6 or 7 years ago that helps clients not just with their protective and preventative capabilities, but with their ability to detect and respond to an attack if and when that takes place within the network. And I know it's a cliche, but to this day, it still holds true. It's not a matter of if, it is a matter of when an attack takes place within an organization. So we took a view that building a bigger and bigger wall is not necessarily the only correct way forward. We established a managed detection and response service, which has become one of our flagship service and one of the leading, if not the leading, managed detection and response service in the UK. The reason the way we differentiate ourselves is actually there are quite a few ways by which we would differentiate ourselves, and we'll get into this later on in this session. But certainly the core ethos of the firm, which is we're an offensive cybersecurity business, does allow us to evolve our capabilities and evolve the way we detect by applying that offensive ethos into the detections that we build. We've been growing quite rapidly. Again, that's both a result of a good quality service, but also the market. The market is recognizing the fact that there is a gap within an organization's security in-depth strategy around detection and response. And with the growth, obviously, we've won quite a few awards that you can see on your screens. We also are fully ISO 27001 compliant. We're Crest SOC accredited, and on top of that, our SOC is going to be fully SC cleared by the end of Q1 this year as well. So in terms of our clients and the types of organizations that we work with, it's a mixture of verticals and industries, but from a managed detection and response side, which, by the way, we brand as Threat Detect, we have over 80 managed detection and response clients. On top of that, we have over 350 penetration testing and red teaming clients. And we've carried out over 400 SIEM deployments. So we understand that market very well. We've been in it for a while, and we have a very good understanding of a variety of sectors. I've selected a few because that's kind of where our footprint mostly sits. But to be fair, for our SIEMs, we have clients in most sectors most sectors, but certainly finance, public sector, legal, retail, e-commerce, manufacturing, healthcare, transport is a big sector for us as well. We understand the sectors very well. Interestingly, the past 2 years, the trends that we are seeing is that regardless of the sector you're in, the types of attacks that clients are faced with are very similar, both because of their IT strategy, which typically lends itself to the cloud, and kind of moving to the cloud opens up new holes within an organization that companies haven't thought of too carefully. So the types of attacks that we are seeing hitting our SOC are similar across a number of organizations.
I guess just to chip in, just to chip in there, say this is one of the reasons also we partner with ResScan for this service. So some of our existing customers and now mutual customers of both organisations, and the feedback we've had from those customers is very positive. So that was one of the key reasons we actually selected ResScan. So I'd say that the broad vertical aligns to us. We're not verticalised either, so we're kind of making sure that we offer a solution that is suitable for everybody.
Yeah, it's interesting, actually. You're right. The way that we were initially introduced into Ultima was a recommendation by a mutual client of ours, as you said, which goes a long way. The good thing about our clients is most of our clients, if not all, are happy to act as a reference site for us at the right time. And I think that's off the back of a good, successful service that we end up providing to these organizations. What we've done from a very early stage is we've consistently measured how well we are delivering our service, and we obviously trust the Net Promoter Score a lot. We've got a fantastic Net Promoter Score of +70. We run an independent customer satisfaction survey every year, which again is fantastic. And really, I mean, last year we didn't in 2019, ResScan's SOC did not lose a single client. I I think over the past 2-3 years, we've lost one client, and that was really because they were acquired by somebody else. So really, we're talking about having a highly capable service with good quality people that delivers real value back to clients. The types of challenges, though, that organizations were faced with when we first started delivering these services, interestingly, has not changed. So I've seen a number of interesting / scary stats out there, but I think on the top left, where you see the average days of detecting a breach, I've seen a stat of 191 days. I've seen one with 250 days, one with 140 days. I went for one in the middle, but really the point that we're trying to make is that organizations might be hit with something and with an attack, with some sort of attack, whether that's targeted or whether that's just spurious. Somebody's throwing attacks out there and it just happens to hit you. But either way, it's very difficult for organizations to detect an attack and remediate it accordingly within an appropriate time frame. You combine that obviously with GDPR and the challenges that poses to organizations. There is clearly still a massive gap in an organization's ability to detect and respond to breaches. So the market is changing. The market is, Gartner, and you can see it on your slide, Gartner recently said that most mid-sized organizations across the UK will adopt MDR as their only managed services provider by 2024. It's a much more outcomes-based type service, and clearly there's a big influx of requirements for these sorts of services. So these are the challenges and market trends that we are faced with. We're faced with a market that is falling in confidence because of their inability to detect and respond to breaches, and the market trends tell us that certainly an MDR type service is the right way to address things. So, as I mentioned earlier, the way we deliver our services is through our brand name Threat Detect. Threat Detect is our managed detection and response service delivered out of our security operations center out of Nottingham in the UK. We are actually in the process of building a secondary SOC as well in another location within the UK. But from that SOC, we are delivering the entire stack of capability required for us to provide an excellent service to clients. So from getting that initial visibility of what's happening within your organization, being able to very quickly and effectively detect if an anomalous activity has taken place within your network, triage it, analyze it, carry out all the necessary investigations and hunting required, and escalate it over to the client so that we can, with obviously all the necessary remedial advice, so that we can help respond and remediate the activity. So our work ethos and the way that we think of things, our motto, dare I say, is that our job doesn't end when we detect a breach. Our job starts when we detect a breach. Interestingly, the whole market is also now moving much more aggressively into being able not just to detect an attack, but to respond to attacks through the Security Operations Center. And again, because we've now done this for quite a few years, we have quite a lot of expertise in helping clients automate some of these responses, which we'll go into in a second. And I think that, again, that's what Chris alluded to earlier through Ultima's proposition around autonomous. Again, that plays very well with our experience and expertise. So our job, really, to summarize kind of what we do and how we do it, is quite simple. These 3 bullet points are very clear. We continuously harden IT environments, both through penetration testing, vulnerability scanning, and ongoing remedial advice. Plus, we reduce the time it takes to detect and respond to breaches. The work that we are essentially trying to do is reduce that, there's a 191-day gap that we saw earlier on the slide, reduce that 191 days down to hours, minutes, seconds, or if possible, avoid it. And how can you avoid it? Certainly by having an understanding of how the bad guys think, applying that to your capabilities, to across the organization in the SOC and in the detection layers, and being able to leverage the knowledge and understanding through threat intelligence that gives us the chance to react faster. So what I wanted to do is, really, this is the core slide and the final slide for today, but I'll probably spend the next 5-10 minutes talking you through this. This slide will explain how our threat detect service is put together. So most organizations we talk to are either on a journey of moving to the cloud, are already in the cloud, have a mixture of on-prem and cloud services, but at the same time, they still have a significant footprint of on-prem environments, data centers, legacy infrastructure, with a number of applications, a number of endpoints, which usually now organizations have them becoming more mobile, getting them the chance to work from home remotely for a number of reasons, whether that's BCP, convenience, or medical outbreaks. But for whatever reason, the technology is there to enable client environments and help them operate in a much more efficient manner. That poses a challenge, though. That poses a challenge when you're trying to monitor and detect anomalous activity within an environment, because the environments are becoming a lot more diverse, a lot more dynamic, and a lot more. There are a lot more gaps within an organization of knowing where their infrastructure sits. So RedScan took a view that rather than delivering a service that focuses on a single product or a single set of products to detect anomalous activity, we introduce a detection layer. And that's a key differentiator, one of the key differentiators of RedScan. So we've essentially built a detection layer which is agnostic in terms of the detection platforms we can leverage to deliver the right outcomes to the client. So we can leverage SIEM platforms, a number of SIEM platforms, EDR platforms, behavior analytics platforms, UEBA platforms, and we can deliver those both as cloud-based, on-prem, or hybrid. And I'll explain how we can do that in a second. But most importantly, if you were to buy one of these technologies by yourselves and run it, typically what you would do is you would turn on the ruling that comes as part of the technology. So you buy a SIEM product or an endpoint detection and response product, EDR product, or a behavior analytics product. You turn it on, you put the rules on that it says, and then what typically happens is you get bombarded with a number of alarms, many of which are false positives. And the problem with that is that there becomes this challenge of alarm fatigue. What RedScan has done and continuously does is that we build bespoke watch lists by applying that offensive mindset and the knowledge of the way the bad guys think through our offensive capability into this tooling. So therefore, we get a number of alarms coming out of these systems that we know with a much higher certainty that they are not false positives, and then we can apply those both whether we deliver this in a cloud manner, in an on-prem manner, or hybrid. The reason we're flexible with that is because rather than building a security operations center out of a single SIEM tool, so rather than having the center of our universe be a SIEM product or an EDR product, the center of our universe is a platform that we have built called CyberOps. So CyberOps is our threat management platform. It's built and continuously evolving by RedScan and our teams. And what it allows us to do is it allows us to bring a single pane of glass into the SOC that aggregates alarms from a number of underlying detection platforms. That to us is a very powerful tool, and it gives us great flexibility as we are selecting the underlying detection layer. In other words, we might have clients with, even yourselves, you might have a number of offices in areas like China. China have very stringent laws around data leaving the country. So for some of our clients, we'll build an on-premise environment in China where logging does not leave the country in any way, shape, or form. But for the rest of their offices around the world, we will monitor them through a cloud instance. Every single thing that comes back into CyberOps, though, comes up as a single, almost as a single view to our SOC for that one client. So we've become a lot less dependent on the underlying detection layer. The reason that's also important is because if you look at the market, sorry, Chris, did you want to say something?
That's okay. No, I was just going to sort of chip in and just add to sort of some of our thinkings around this too, just as a slightly independent view. So I mean, this is one of the main reasons we actually selected RedScan, just to make it clear to everyone on the call. So when we saw CyberOps and sort of the guys went through their vision and their roadmap and things like automation being a key part of how it works, that kind of aligns exactly to what we're doing and what we believe our customers want to do. And this whole concept and vision is again, it's a different approach to MDR to some of the other people we looked at. And we think this is the best route to go down. So yeah, the key thing is that the vendor agnostic features is a massive differentiator and benefit to most of our customers. And one of the things we sort of discuss with RedScan up front is things like roadmap. So we're a very Microsoft-centric partner that most people on the call will know that. So support for things like Defender ATP and that kind of thing. You know, the new tech from Microsoft is things that RedScan are sort of ahead of the game on already, and realizing that Microsoft are now a serious security player, and it's no longer about third party. So they're looking at things like that. So that was some of the key things that we felt was really important on choosing the right partner for this purpose. So.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. And you're right. The challenge that most organizations like ours are faced with is that the money that Microsoft and AWS and Google are throwing into their cloud platforms is a lot more than any of the detection systems out there can afford to spend. So they're moving at a much faster pace. So the challenge is, how do you monitor environments like as dynamic as the cloud when you've trusted one single underlying technology? And if you've invested a significant amount of money in that technology, it's very difficult to take it out, swap it for something else. Because of the way we've architected our service, we are able to introduce or swap technologies in a much faster, much more efficient way if needed. Needless to say, the SIEM market space just opened a Gartner Magic Quadrant 7 or 8 years ago, and open it today, and you'll see that the number of players and who was where in that Magic Quadrant is very different to today. But really, the benefit of using CyberOps is it gives us that flexibility that you mentioned earlier. Adding on to that, what CyberOps is also capable of doing is, because it acts as a single pane of glass into the SOC, it helps us enrich the data that the tooling, that the detection layer gives us through third-party threat intelligence, bespoke threat intelligence that we've built, additional information that therefore the SOC analyst can get right in front of their eyes to make a quick and effective decision as to whether or not that's something that needs further investigation, further reducing the time it takes to respond, to detect a breach and respond to a breach. The next step, though, which kind of takes that next step further and clearly plays very well with Ultima's ethos and viewpoint, is the orchestration and response layer. So in our view, being able to detect something and tell our clients that something wrong has gone on is fine, but it's part of the problem. It's not the whole problem, and it's certainly not the fix of the problem. So what our SOC is now capable of doing through automation is contain an attack from spreading across the rest of the network through isolating hosts, killing processes, or deleting payloads, and enabling us to contain an attack from spreading during an outbreak. Finally, some of the interesting things that we're seeing for some of our larger clients is that they do not just leverage internal resources. They use a number of third parties. Obviously, in many of the people's case today on this webinar, you will be working with Ultima. So what we have done is we've built in our systems a lot of workflow automation, which therefore gives us the ability to escalate alarms and confirmed attacks or confirmed investigations that need to take place, not just to you as the end user, but also to third party, whether that's Ultima or anybody else, your ISP or whomever else. Therefore, simplifying the flow of information and making sure that we can get an appropriate response and remediation in a much faster time scale. And that's done all through CyberOps. So CyberOps acts as our ticketing system that can connect straight with Ultima's capabilities to enhance our service offering. Obviously, that's all underpinned by our Security Operations Center, which I mentioned earlier, to deliver the services that we've just gone through. But really, and that's true of most MDR most good managed detection and response services. Really, this is a much more outcomes-based and outcomes-focused service. So really, the two core pillars of what we're looking to do is to reduce the time it takes to detect and respond to breaches, both by making sure we notify people of genuine incidents, right? Reducing the false alarms as much as possible, both through the enrichment of data, but also through the custom watch lists. Making sure we automate as much as possible, both because we want to scale our SOC, but also because it means that we reduce the time to respond to breaches. And help clients by giving them the right type of advice so that they can go and remediate an incident. So very recently, obviously, there was a now infamous Travelex incident that took place a few months ago. That was a known vulnerability that many organizations had because of the system that it exploited. As soon as we found out about that vulnerability, we immediately notified all our clients. For the clients that we were running vulnerability scanning systems already, we ran a scan across all their systems to make sure that they did not have that vulnerability within that environment. If they did, we was advising them on how to go and address it. And then again, we re-scanned the network to make sure that that vulnerability was no longer there. In the meantime, we've tweaked a rule within our bespoke watch lists and through our detection layer to increase the sensitivity of alarms if we saw some type of anomalous activity going on towards those systems. So what that does is obviously it gives organizational assurance, right? So over time, we are able to provide an organization much more confidence in their ability to appropriately handle an attack. Certainly not just build a bigger and bigger preventative wall, but build a much more robust and security in-depth capability. And help them by proving that through bespoke reports and dashboards. The final thing that we do, which I should have mentioned a bit earlier, is we do what we call scenario-based testing, which is almost a bit like purple teaming. So we will use our offensive team and target our SOC target an organization with our SOC turned on and see where the gaps are. See whether or not the detection we are able to detect specific activities within an organization, and if not, we can then go and tweak that detection layer and build more bespoke watch lists to get a better coverage overall. That's really it for today. I'm happy to take any questions, both myself and Chris. Looking forward to talking to any of you who are interested in hearing more about our services in a future conversation. Thank you.
Thanks, Constantine, for running through that. That's really appreciated. So we have had a couple of questions come in during that session. So I'll shout those out for you. So the first one is, you mentioned around things like cloud applications and on-prem and that kind of thing, which is you can take a direct feed in. If we have some kind of bespoke in-house written applications that are, maybe legacy, that kind of thing, is it possible to take a log from those applications into your platform?
Yes, of course. So the challenge there, what you're describing is legacy infrastructure. We've got a client who their core app was built in the 80s. Very difficult to get out. Everything is linked to that app. We are able to build bespoke connectors and take feeds from that application into our systems. Traditionally, that would have been possible, but it would have taken a significant amount of time. So I've worked in this industry for about 15, 20 years now, and nearing the 20 actually. And historically, it would take you 8 to 10 days to build a connector like that. Because of the way we've architected our systems, it will probably take us between 1 or 2 days to build a bespoke connector like that.
Great, thanks for that. The second one's just around sort of timing and onboarding. So I guess the question specifically is around if we have an existing MSP and we want to transition from them to you, but I guess in the same ways you could say how would they apply if they haven't got this today and they want to sort of get a service like this, how quickly can that be spun up and sort of get through to being live and in production?
Yeah, good question. So again, either the world's moved on or Redscan is slightly better at this. But we are very fast and effective in being able to onboard clients. So we typically say to clients that they should expect us to be live within between 4 to 6 weeks from signing a contract. The reason we do that is because, firstly, we've now done a few of them. I mean, if we were to power our service with a SIEM platform, as you saw, we've built over 400 of them now. But also, it is a challenge to be able to onboard clients when they don't know where their infrastructure sits. So some of the work that we've done is to help clients understand where that infrastructure sits, what that infrastructure looks like, to speed up that process. So I would say 4 to 6 weeks before we kind of go live in our own terminology, with a view of being able to deliver proper value to a client by the end of the 8th week.
Great, perfect. Thanks for covering that. I think that's all the questions.
In fact, actually,
sorry, go on, Christine.
No, I just thought of something. So actually, one of the client that introduced us to Ultima was actually with another MSSP before us. And they had a hard deadline to kind of move out from that client by October, a couple of years ago. So October, say, 2018. And they signed a contract with us at the end of July. Now, we went live with them in the middle of September. That's a FTSE 250 organization with about 30 sites across the world. We were live with an enhanced service from the one that we're getting from their existing MSSP in 5-6 weeks, including obviously the summer holidays. And then what we did is we bedded in the service for another 4 weeks so that they could then sunset the existing MSSP that they had without a problem in October. So really we were live within 4 or 5 weeks.
Great. Okay, that's good to clarify. So I think thanks to Constantine for running through that today. That's really appreciated, and thanks to everyone else for joining. As you said at the beginning of the session, we will send the slides out and a recording if you want to replay anything back. And obviously, if there's any questions, follow-ups, or anything you want to go through in more detail, please feel free to reach out to your account manager when they send over the details, and we're more than happy to have a bit more of a bespoke chat with you and your organisation. So thanks everyone for joining, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.